channel, Dear Adeline. If you're new, please subscribe. If not, then welcome back. I don't know what that thumbs up was, but you should give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And so today we're going to be talking about my labor and delivery at 17. I was 17 years old when I found out I was pregnant, which you can all see in the description below my other video. I was 18 when I had my daughter, and I'm currently 19 years old. I had my daughter Adeline on November 12th, 2017 at 6:20 a.m. I started going to labor at November 10th at like 11 o'clock at night. I started having really bad contractions. I ended up actually waking up to them. I was currently sleeping. I went to bed at like 9 that night, not really feeling good. Just kind of over it. I was already having labors, pains, Braxton Hicks contractions, or whatever they're called, for like 3 weeks previously. I was already dilated to a centimeter at my last doctor's appointment, which would have been at like 38 weeks. So yeah, I was already dilated to a centimeter. I was having contractions. So when the 10th came in November, I woke up to having a lot of labor pains, a lot of contractions, a lot of pain in general, you know. So I went to my mom. I remember calling my mom and telling her, because she was home, she was in her room. I remember going in there and telling her, like, hey, I think I'm having contractions, you know, this isn't new, let's try to time them. So we timed them, and they were like 10 to 15 minutes apart, and pretty consistently, back to back, just 10-15 minutes apart. So at this point, I ended up just going back to bed. They ended up actually going away a lot, the contractions, so I ended up actually falling back to sleep. So I ended up waking up that next morning, the 11th, around 6 a.m. with more contractions. I don't think they ever went away, but these ones hurt. Like, I could not go back to sleep with these ones. So I ended up waking up, telling my mom, like, hey, I am having more contractions still. They never really went away. Like, we should probably time them. So at this point, we're timing them, and they are like 10 to 12 minutes apart. So they're still pretty far apart, but enough where they stayed within that 10-minute range, 10-15 minute range. So I remember sitting on the couch eating breakfast. My mom smokes, so we were going out a lot, outside on the patio. While she smoked, I would sit on the chair on the other side and just deal with my contractions while she just sat there and looked at me. She kept saying that, I'm pretty sure you're in labor, because these are not going away. They're not doing anything. They're just getting worse, pretty much. So we deal with that, and obviously with contractions, you can't really do anything but just deal with them. And my hospital is 30 minutes away, you guys. So I wasn't just gonna get up and run to the hospital like I did previously with my other contractions. So we just sat there, and Darian was at home because he still didn't live with me at the time. So he was at home, and I remember telling him, waiting for him to wake up so we could go to the hospital, try to figure out what we were doing. So in this whole time, I'm texting him, trying to get him up, trying to let him know, like, hey, I think I'm in natural labor, like, I need to probably go to the hospital later. So my contractions, we keep timing them. We haven't stopped timing them this whole time. So we're timing them, and they're anywhere from like 5 minutes to like 12 minutes. They're very, like, everywhere my contractions were at one point. I don't really know why they were so crazy, but at one point they ended up just going everywhere. They were like 2 minutes apart, and then they would be like 10 minutes apart, and then they would be like 7 minutes apart. So yeah. So at this point, I don't really know what's going on. I'm like, okay, like, these hurt, you know. I'm at like 39 weeks at this point, may I add. Like, I'm already at my last like week of being pregnant. So I knew she was coming soon. I knew I was gonna go in labor, especially being dilated to 1 centimeter. I know you can be dilated for like a long time and not change or anything, but I also knew that it had to do a little bit of effect. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't know. So in this whole time, I'm sitting on the couch with contractions, just trying to kind of walk them off, not really walk them off, but just trying to deal with them as best as you can. My mom is pretty sure I'm in labor, so we're getting all the bags together, making sure I have everything, and this is probably around like 11 now. I decide to officially like get ready to get going, because I knew it was time. It was getting to a point where my contractions were getting to like 7 minutes apart consistently. Like, they were done being all crazy. Now it's just consistent, like 5 to 7 minutes apart. So I tell my mom, like, hey, I think it's time to go to like the hospital. So of course my mom is there the whole time. Like, she's telling me, yeah, you're in labor, we should probably go. Like, when do you want to go? I finally tell her, let's go get Darian, let's go see what he's doing. So I start getting ready about 11, still having contractions 5 to 7 minutes apart. And then I go and get ready. And at this time, my little sister's home. And she's like helping me get dressed a little bit and stuff. Get my clothes because I'm in labor, obviously. Like, it hurts. So my dumb butt wears like the tightest exercising pants I own, you guys. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know why I even put these on. Like, I don't even know how they fit, may I add. So I put them on, and with my contractions, nevertheless. Okay, you guys? So I put on these tight freaking pants on. These exercising pants, capris, or whatever you want to call them. Well, clearly they're just way too fucking tight, alright? Excuse my language, but they were just way too tight. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just thinking about putting clothes on and heading to the hospital with Darian or something. I don't really know. So I put these on. So it's about like noon at this point where we get ready to leave, 1 o'clock. And I'm having contractions, okay? And it's worse than it were earlier. And I'm pretty sure it's because of these pants now. But at the time, I didn't think about it. So we drive down to Darian's house. That's like 15 minutes away, nevertheless, at the time. So I drive down there and I tell him, like, I need to change my clothes. Like, do you have anything like I can wear? I can't wear these. So he even tells me, like, girl, why'd you put those on? Like, there's why. So this whole time my contractions are just remotely getting worse, obviously. So I go into his house having all these contractions in labor, and I change my pants into these big old, I think they were Adidas pants he had or something. And I change into those. And he's telling me, you need to go to the hospital. Like, do you want me to go with you? Do you want me to just wait until you're admitted? Like, what do you want to do? And I told him it was up to him. Because I know he still did at this point, didn't really eat dinner. He didn't really, like, do anything. I mean, it's like 1 o'clock. Like, you know. I think he just woke up naturally, like, a couple hours before. Anyways, long story short, I go put his pants on. And he decides that he's gonna stay until his mom gets home from work so they can just go together to the hospital, because my hospital was kind of dumb. They wouldn't even allow him back there until I was admitted. So I don't know, to me there was just no point in him going back there with me when I already had my mom there full time. You can only have one person back there anyways when you're admitted, until you're like fully admitted. So yeah, there was just no point in him going. So he gave me his clothes, and I'm sitting outside. I remember him and my mom talking about, you know, like, she's so stubborn, she isn't going. Like, why is she not going? Because my biggest fear at this point, like, I already went to the hospital 3-4 times and got sent home for having labor contractions. I wasn't gonna be sent home, you guys. Like, it was the real deal, or we just weren't gonna go. So at this point, we sit out there for like an hour, okay? Like, we leave at noon from my house. We get over there at like 12:15, 12:20, and I get changed, and we sit out there. I'm having contractions, we're all talking, and then it comes around like 2 o'clock. I don't think I left his house to the hospital until like 2 a.m. Not 2 a.m., you guys, but till 2. And then I decided to leave, because at this point, I can't anymore. Like, I couldn't even walk at this point. So my mom takes me to the hospital. Darian stays home and waits for his mom to come back and drive him to the hospital. Because they were still sharing cars and everything too. So it was just a lot easier if she took him. But I go over there and I get checked in. I walk into the labor delivery like floor, and I get checked in. And they ask, you know, did your water break? Do you have insurance? Yada, yada, yada. So I get all checked in, give them my insurance card, tell them, you know, no, my water didn't break, but I'm having contractions anywhere at this point, like 2 to 5 minutes apart. My labor contractions really, like, went within that hour of being at Darian's house. So they're like, oh, okay. So I sit down in the little waiting room with my mom, and they call me back finally. And of course, like, only one person back there was just me. So I go back there, and they are like helping me get undressed, because I still can't walk, you guys. Like, I'm having a really hard time walking. But, you know. So I walk back there, and they get me undressed. They help me get undressed, and I couldn't get undressed myself. So they put me on the monitors. They check my cervix. So within all this, I get undressed. They put me on the bed. One nurse is undressing me. One nurse is putting monitors on me. Adeline is just kicking all these monitors off, not giving them a proper reading. So, yeah, I'm sitting there by myself having all these contractions with these two nurses that obviously I don't know. And they're just undressing me, putting stuff, on me, checking my cervix. I'm just laying there. I can't do anything. So the one nurse is like, well, you're still dilated to a 1. May I add, I was pissed. Like, I just did all this laboring and I'm still only at a 1. So she's like, okay, well, we're going to keep you monitored to see if your contractions get worse, closer, whatever. So they keep me on the monitor, and this whole time, Madeline is kicking the monitors off. Like, constantly kicking these monitors off. Like, to the point where the nurses just gave up. Like, we're just like, okay, well, she clearly is just not going to let us do this right now. You are having contractions anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes still. The doctor wants you to walk. My doctor wanted me to walk in the labor and delivery floor for 2 hours, you guys. 2 hours. I could barely walk from the waiting room to the hospital room. Like, I don't really know how they were planning on me walking for 2 hours, but I had to. Like, I obviously couldn't do anything. So they obviously leave, and they call my mom back finally and tell her, like, hey, she needs to walk. Will you take her out and, walk around with her on the labor floor delivery? Whatever it's called. So we do that, and I could only do for an hour, you guys. I could not do more walking than an hour. I was pushing it with that hour. Like, I kept telling my mom, like, I can't do this. My legs are shaking. Like, I'm crying in the middle of this hallway, you guys. Like, I'm such a big baby over this. Like, I'm crying. Like, I'm such a big baby. But then my mom and I just decided, like, okay, let's sit down, let's eat some food. I don't think I was supposed to eat, you guys. Like, I'm pretty sure I wasn't allowed to eat food, but I did. So I went and ate some chicken. My mom had, like, an hamburger or something. So we go and get food. And at this point, I'm just having all these contractions. I'm hurting. I'm in my gown, walking up down the hallway of this labor and delivery floor. Darian's finally on his way over. Or getting ready to come over or something. Yeah, he's coming over and he's getting ready to, and I call him and tell him not to because I told him, like, I don't know what's going on, like, just wait it out a little bit, like, I'm still walking. So he waits it out. So then I decided to go back to the nurse station in my room to tell him, like, I can't walk no more, this isn't happening. Like, I'm falling, like, it hurts so bad. So they check me again, they get me hooked up, and they're like, okay, like, that's fine, you walked an hour, that's cool. So they get me hooked up and they check me again, and I still haven't dilated hardly anything. I think I dilated like 1/2 centimeter, you guys. Like, that's it. So she's like, okay, well, technically we're not supposed to admit you, but you are having contractions. Like, you're in labor, we're not sure why you're not dilating like you should be. You're in labor, so we're just gonna admit you. So they ended up admitting me, and at this point I called Darian and tell him, like, hey, we're not leaving until we have a baby. Like, I'm finally getting admitted, so get over here. So after they get admitted, I sit there for a little while and contemplate, like, what is going on? Nurses are coming in, putting IVs in, putting all these bracelets on me, checking monitors, checking baby. Like, it was all crazy. And I had paperwork in the middle of it, and I had one nurse over here talking to me while this nurse is over here trying to get my paperwork.